Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Helping People Get Through Stress. The Quad Cities Chamber strives to be your one-stop business resource to assist during the coronavirus pandemic, connecting you to reliable and accurate information. There's a lot of new information to process and respond to during these rapidly evolving and uncertain times, and the Quad Cities Chamber is here for you, advocating for your business at the state and federal levels and providing resources to help you protect the health of your workforce and operations. We are committed to bringing you the latest information as quickly as possible. We have a Reopening Your Business in the Age of COVID-19 toolkit on our website. People are looking at reopening and all those processes and procedures. So you want to take a look at that downloadable PDF if you haven't had the opportunity to. It's on our website at quadcitieschamber.com. And we also have a COVID-19 resource page that gets updated several times a day. If you haven't had time to sign up for e-news or know somebody who would like that information, you can do that on our website as well. We're going to get through this together, right, Doctor?
That's right.
Today we have Dr. Richard Whitaker of Vera French Community Mental Health Center in Davenport, and he serves as the CEO for Vera French. He began his career in the Quad Cities 24 years ago as a doctoral intern at the historic Marriage and Family Counseling Service in Rock Island, prior to receiving his PhD in Marriage and Family Therapy from Brigham Young University in 1995. Since that pivotal year, Rich has pursued a career in community mental health, providing therapy services, supervision, and executive administration at community health centers, including Grand Island, Nebraska, and Jasper, Indiana. He also serves as governor-appointed commissioner for the Iowa MHDS Commission. He's a board member for the Iowa Association of Community Providers, a member of the Eastern Iowa MHDS Regional Advisory Committee, and the innovation team lead for the Quad Cities Behavioral Health Coalition. Nice background there. You are so the right person to talk to us today before this weekend.
Thank you, Julie. Appreciate that. Great to be here.
We are going to take questions. So if you have those, you can go ahead and put those in the question box if there's time. But at this time, I'm going to turn it over to you, Doctor.
All right. Thanks again, Julie. You know, when I first developed this presentation a few weeks ago, we were still right in the middle of the pandemic, and getting through felt a long way away. Now, while we're not out of the woods yet, we can start to see maybe way out in the distance, the edge of the woods. And, you know, it's getting through it, though. That's the stressful thing. Helping people get through the stress is really what I wanted to talk about today, and helping everyone recognize the stressfulness of what we're experiencing and the effects of that stress, and then what we can do about it. That's what I want to talk about today. You know, this quote from Mark Twain, I think, helps us kind of put into perspective what we're feeling at this point. So many people who don't typically struggle with mental health issues are more worried and fearful. Everything is changing so much. There aren't very many clear answers or solutions, and there are so many unknowns, like not knowing who might be contagious or have COVID-19 and not know it. It's very normal for people to constantly worry more about hand washing and germs and touching things that might be infected. Even those who don't struggle with mental illness, it's very normal to worry about a loss of a job, about whether my job will ever come back, about the loss of a business, or whether my business can open and how do we reopen. None of that has a manual or instructions or guidelines. Now, the chamber has been great about putting out some excellent resources in how to reopen. But we're all right now a little bit extra cautious about our situation, our proximity to others who might be carrying the virus, even though they don't have symptoms, getting tested, Are employees getting tested? Which employees might have it? The important thing to keep in mind, though, is that all of these are normal reactions, and they're also part of our natural drive to survive. Being on high alert and ready for whatever, and even overly cautious, will help keep us safe from the virus in the short run and really help us to perform and maximize our performance in whatever capacity we're in. The problems really start, though, when the pandemic keeps stretching on. Maybe we have a little resurgence of the pandemic. That's when stress levels, and maybe people are at that point now, but that's when stress levels start to cause more serious problems. And for people who already had anxiety or depression before COVID-19, the need for professional help is even more urgent today. You know, we're all under stress, maybe even more stress than we realize. Yes, it's normal to feel stress when we're in situations that feel outside of our control. It's normal to feel stress when we're worrying about the safety of our community, our loved ones, our friends, and ourselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the stress has to get the best of us. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those warning signs. So some of the warning signs when that stress is maybe getting the best of us is number one, your diet gets disrupted. That might mean eating more than usual, or it could mean a loss of appetite, maybe indigestion and heartburn. Some of those things are actually brought on by additional stress, and it's just a little warning sign that, hey, something's going on here. Disrupted sleep is maybe a little more serious warning sign. That includes difficulty getting to sleep, maybe not staying asleep due to feelings of panic, or nightmares that wake you up. It also could include sleeping too much, which could be a precursor to depression. Stress can also cause trouble with our emotions and thought processes. Irritability, a change in mood, or even an inability to focus and trouble remembering things can all signal high stress. That's when that stress is getting even a little more troublesome. And then finally, that stress is going to start to leak into our relationships. And those disrupted relationships are another warning sign of high stress. So when you see some of these things, know that we're actually getting into the point of being overly stressed and maybe starting to experience some mental health symptoms. I'm sure most of you are pretty good at, if not all of you, at working with people who are upset. Let me just give you a little refresher that might help with those who are really stressed out to the breaking point. One thing that I would suggest is a supportive stance. You know, when you notice the signs of extreme stress, you realize that there's also an emotional takeover happening within the person's mind and central nervous system. They're not thinking as rationally as they normally would be. So take a supportive stance that lets them know you're safe, not threatening. Stand to the side maybe. If you're in a face-to-face situation, stand to the side and use a calm voice and speak a little more slowly and reassuringly. Avoid the urge to confront the irrational statements you might be hearing. Sometimes that can push the person further into a stress response instead of starting to think more rationally. Be ready to move if you need to avoid getting hit or kicked. Now, I'm talking about somebody who's really stressed out, but that is, I think, a very real possibility, and all of us need to be prepared. But take that supportive stance. It helps a lot. Validate the feelings. When people are at their breaking point, listening and letting them know you're trying to understand helps to diffuse the crisis. When their emotions are in control, any arguing or telling them what to do is not going to be well received. Again, they're not thinking rationally yet. You got to stay in that emotion with them for a minute. So just be a good active listener. Things like, I know what you're saying, or you have every right to be upset, or these are very troubling times and we're all feeling it. Those kinds of understanding statements can help a lot and help a person to get out of that emotional mind and into more of their rational mind. So, let me go back. So also in your goal to help a person who's kind of overly stressed and maybe needs to calm down a little bit, your goal in working with that person at their breaking point is not to solve their crisis. It's really a time to begin the formulation of a basic plan. How will they get their food? How will they get to their job? What are they going to do about their transportation? Where are they going to stay tonight? Who's going to be with them for the next 24 hours in the case of somebody who might be to the point where you're worried a little bit about their safety? And how will they stay safe? All of those things can help people who are overly stressed, and you're thinking about what's the very next thing that they need to do that will help them most. The last thing that I would suggest as you're helping the overly stressed from kind of a layperson's point of view is to slow down that train. Working with people at their breaking point, from my experience and those of other clinicians, feels a lot like trying to help somebody on a runaway train. A few things that'll help to slow that train down are, number one, help the person identify a natural support person and get them involved. It doesn't have to be just you. You're not the only person who can help, and they're not really as isolated as maybe they might feel. If you can help them to start thinking through who else might be able to help, that's going to slow that train down. Resist the urge, though, to treat this as an emergency. It's not necessarily an emergency right this second. Yes, they may, and it is very possible they may need to go to the emergency room, but unless it's to that point, it's better if you can see this not as an emergency, but what is the next step, and focus on one basic step at a time. That's number three. Really kind of take that one step at a time. And then number four, if you need to, let the person know, hey, I'm going to get back to you. Even if you're on a phone call or on a Zoom call and the person's just stressed out, say, let me check with a couple of things. I'll get right back to you. Hang on just a second. Sometimes if the stress is starting to affect our ability to think rationally, we need to step away, collect our thoughts, maybe call a colleague, maybe call a professional, and get some additional ideas and resources. Again, their emergency doesn't have to be your emergency. As you're helping somebody who's overly stressed, it also helps to keep our own stress in control. But 4 ways that could help to reduce your stress and improve your body's natural immune system. Number 1 is to take care of yourself, your body. Good daily hygiene, exercise every day, eat balanced meals, drink plenty of water. Any of those things are going to help us stay healthy and keep our own engine running well. Number 2 is really to protect your sleep. It's so important that we protect our ability to get a good night's sleep. Give yourself time to unwind every night by listening to relaxing music or reading a good book or just unplugging from media outlets. I can't overemphasize how important it is that you take the time to unplug from news and social media for at least 2 hours every day. We hear from lots of people who are coming into Vera French that it is so stressful to hear on the news every day, all day long, about COVID-19. And people who are struggling with mental illness symptoms are saying that they can't get that out of their mind. It's just become overwhelming for them. Well, we need to kind of work on that before it gets to that mental illness level, and unplug and kind of take a break from the news and social media and all of that. Get outside, do something else, at least a couple hours every day, try to take a break. And you know what that does is it gives our brain, our central nervous system, a break. We're in information overload just about every day, and anything we can do to reduce that will help. Number 3 is really to share our feelings. You know, it goes a long way to share what you're going through with a supportive listener. When a trusted friend or a family member, a pastor, maybe even one of our Vera French peer support helpers that we call a low pressure problem solver can listen to what you're going through, particularly if somebody's been through something like what you're experiencing. That can help to reduce stress quite a bit. And it will help you think through your options. You know, one of the things that a good listener will do, and we can each practice this as we're trying to be that support person for someone else that's experiencing high levels of stress, is to focus on being reassuring. One nice message is, it's going to be okay. Another is to be as understanding as we can be. We may not know exactly how they're feeling, but we can at least express understanding. And then to listen for and maybe help the person identify options. Maybe even list out all of the things that are stressing them out, and maybe some of their options can help them to reduce stress. And finally, number 4 is focus on what you can control. You know, as we focus on what we can control, it helps us to feel less out of control. Washing our hands every day, not every day, at every opportunity actually, and sanitizing as much as possible is something we can do in the midst of this pandemic. We can do physical distancing and keep ourselves safe. We can wear a mask if that helps to reduce some of our anxiety and stress level when we're around other people. We can do that. That'll help a little bit, because it, you know, research has shown that the mask does help a little bit in reducing the transmission levels. It is not a fail-safe or foolproof method, but it also is a reminder that, hey, there is a pandemic going on, and it's a reminder to ourselves to keep ourselves safe, and it's a reminder to others to do the same. And then finally, I think it's really important that we choose to think about positive things, count our blessings, help us keep a balanced perspective. You know, there are some things that we can be grateful for, especially if we ourselves are experiencing good health. And helping others can sometimes simply or be as simple as letting them know how they've been a help and a blessing in our life. Maybe things aren't looking so good for them, but if they know that they've been a help to you, that actually could help them feel a little bit better about their situation. It's so important to talk about what you're going through, but sometimes you need more than just a listening ear to help with overwhelming stress and anxiety. During this time when you might not want to visit a clinic or speak with your doctor or a mental health professional, most service providers are available by phone or video conference. Telehealth is a great opportunity that's available at nearly every behavioral health provider office. You know, talking to your doctor and mental health provider about your stressors and anxiety can help to reassure you and those that you're responsible for and reduce your stress. What help is available? I just point to those resources that I've got listed there. The regional crisis line is a 24/7 option that is connected to a mobile crisis response team. That number is 24/7 available. Somebody will be able to talk you or somebody who maybe you are responsible for or have referred to the crisis line. They'll be able to talk them through their crisis and help them reduce their stress levels. Also, Vera French is the Community Mental Health Center for Scott County. We're part of the community safety net. We haven't shut down during the pandemic. We actually have ramped up our services in new ways to help people during the pandemic. We're very much open and available to help everyone experiencing emotional, mental health, and other crises. All of our doctors, nurse practitioners, and therapists are available via telephone or video conference through our telehealth platform called doxy.me. Just call our main number to schedule. That number is listed there on the screen. And we're welcoming walk-ins to our peer support drop-in center at 808 North Harrison. It's also known as the Carroll Center. We have a curbside lunch every day available downtown there at 808 North Harrison between 11:30 and 1 o'clock. We also have 24/7 help for those who might need a short-term stay to stabilize their mental health crisis, and that's at the Crisis Stabilization Home. It's a 3 to 5 day stay that is funded currently by the regional mental health and disability services region for Eastern Iowa. That number, 563-396-3017, that's a 24-hour number. Somebody can help walk a person through a quick screening and then have them come in for an assessment. Assertive community treatment and multi-systemic therapy programs for adults and then youth who are at high risk. And our residential care facilities and group homes are running 24/7 helping people. And we've also got Vera French housing. I don't know if everybody knows about that, but we do provide housing, low cost, affordable housing for folks with mental illness. Those are some of the resources. There are many more out there. I would point you to the website, the Vera French website at verafrenchmhc.org to get more information about other resources available.
Really great resources. Thanks for sharing all that today. And, you know, it's interesting, essential businesses have been, you know, in the workplace with employees and interactions, certainly in a different way. But as businesses, non-essential, reopen and start to go back to work, a lot of what you talked about might be people dealing stress within everybody that they have been sheltering with. But it's a little bit different when you go back to the workplace and you're live and in person with people versus, you know, sharing through Zoom or other video venues. And there's just a whole nother level of stress that I think you can pick up when you're live and in person. And so a lot of the suggestions that you made are good to think about as we all begin to return to work and are actually back in a physical space with people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just more important than ever that we be good responders to stress. And that's, I think a skill, kind of like first aid. They talk about mental health first aid. A lot of what I talked about comes from some of those concepts of mental health first aid.
Well, we appreciate your time today. Very important topic. We're coming at the end of our program, and certainly we thank everybody for spending some time with us today before the holiday weekend kicks off later today. This webinar has been recorded and will be available on our website at quadcitieschamber.com. Be sure to keep up to date with us on social media, and don't forget to download our Reopening in the Business, Your Business in the Age of COVID-19 Toolkit. That can be found on our website. And Dr. Whitaker, thank you so much for joining us today and providing us with some really great, valuable information. And thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Doctor.